Good morning. I'm Sally Hanley, author of the Holly and Ivy Cozy Mystery Series, and welcome to Mystery Book Club. This is the first of our third quarter, and we read um, Big Dogs. And you know what? I don't have the author's name right here.
It's Steve Ditmars.
Okay, Steve Ditmars.
Steve,
Um,
yeah.
we have a new moderator. But before I introduce him, I'd like to read a review by one of our members who's traveling and couldn't attend. Peg Roach, a mystery writer, uh, says, this was a great introduction to both raising those dogs who will be used in law enforcement and the many facets required by a law enforcement division for setting up a canine unit, such as the safety features needed for a vehicle and the protective articles for the dogs themselves. Covered is the training for various types of tracking as well as attack moves the dogs are capable of carrying out. Finally, the novel further portrays the relationships that develop between the dog and his handler, as well as between the dog and the handler's family. The book is both informative and entertaining. She gave it 5 stars. So that is the book that we are going to be discussing this morning. John Schembra, the outgoing president of the Public Safety Writers Association, is our moderator this month. John has a long career in law enforcement, and he is he's going to lead our discussion today. So, John, take it away.
Well, good morning, everybody. Sally, thank you for the invitation to do this. This is really something new for me, and I think I'm really going to enjoy it. Well, my background, real quick, I spent 30 years while I was in the Army, got sent to Vietnam as a military policeman. That was loads of fun. Uh, and when I got back, I joined the Pleasant Hill Police Department, a smaller police department here in Northern California. Spent almost 30 years with them. Retired from them and took over the lead driving instructor for our academy. So that was terrific. I mean, I did that for 26 years. It coincided with my police job. Teaching them pursuit driving and safety and driving and all that. And you know, the best thing about it was so much fun is they gave me money to do it. So, but then I stopped doing that in 2014. I started writing in 2000. I wrote my first book. It's called MP, A Novel of Vietnam. And it tells the story of an MP based on me. But I didn't do everything I put this poor guy through. It's based in part on some of the things that I experienced. Because a lot of people don't have a clear picture of what MPs, the military police, did. They think you directed traffic and, you know, wrote tickets. No, you didn't do that. It's a lot of other stuff. So I wanted to get that story out. I got it out. And luckily, a publisher picked it up. I enjoyed writing it so much, I figured, you know what, I'm going to age the MP, Vince Torelli. I aged him about 20 years and made him a homicide inspector in San Francisco. I've written 5 Vince Torelli books, the MP book, and 2 supernatural thrillers. One is called An Echo of Lies, and it's about a demonic possession. A police officer gets possessed, and the other one's called Sin Eater, which also has a little supernatural twist to it. So I really enjoyed, you know, the journey along here. I'm working on my 9th book. It's called The Night Caller, and I'm trying to make this guy as creepy as I can. And and I think I've accomplished it. But anyway, so that's pretty much my background. I've been as Sally said, I've been the president of the Public Safety Writers Association for the last 5 years. And it was time for me to move on, let somebody else come in. So the Public Safety Writers Conference starts, well, the pre-conference thing starts tomorrow, and the conference starts on Friday. I'm not able to go. It's the second time I've missed this conference in 23 years because my wife and I went to see the Dodger game in San Francisco on the 28th of April, and we both came down with COVID. So I'm still taking my medicine and I can't go to the conference. So I'm kind of bummed about that, but
Too bad.
so anyway, talking about the book, Steve Ditmars is now our vice president, by the way. Steve has an extensive background. I think he's got like 28 years with Long Beach PD. So he has an extensive police background. He was involved in canine units. And I'm assuming you read the book. So I'd just like to get an overall feeling from you on what you thought about the book. So did you
liked
like
it.
it? Did you not
I
like it,
liked
or
it.
what?
I found it fascinating. The parts about the dogs and their training and what they could do, like
Mhm.
trailing the car 2 weeks later, or the person that was in the car. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And the relationship between him and the dogs, all of it.
I don't have any background in canine. I never was a canine officer. We had a canine officer for a few years, but being a small PD was just not in the budget. And we really didn't need one. So they got rid of it. But I found this book, actually, I love the book. I have to write a review on it since I've read it now. The beginning of the book I thought was terrific. It's one of the best beginnings. And you all know as writers, if you don't capture them in the first few pages or
Yeah.
chapter, you're not going to capture them. But boy, he had me going. He had me welded to that book. A big action scene right at the beginning where the protagonist, Lieutenant North, gets shot. And you know that he rued that shooting because he felt bad. He made a mistake. He got distracted. He didn't follow proper police procedures, and he almost paid with his life. But I really like the book, especially when he gets to the part where he starts thinking, he's going to have to retire. He doesn't have to, but he's retiring. But when he gets to the part where he gets the new dog and presents this program to the staff and all that, I thought that was really well done too. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask this question. What did you think of the cover of the book? The reddish cover with the dog on it, with the background and the palm trees and that.
I didn't
Because
like
I'm
it
a
very
huge,
much.
No.
yeah, I'm a huge guy on covers. And, to me, you've got to have a cover that hints at what the story's about, that
I
will
have to
draw
step away for 1 minute.
Okay. So I'm a big fan of good covers, and I try to be as inclusive as I possibly can with my publisher on getting my covers done. And she tolerates me. She puts up with me. Because I keep sending her suggestions and I get a cover back and I'll say, no, it's not right. You got to do it this way. And she accommodates me and I've been a big fan of a good cover. So that's like one of the first questions I ask.
Yeah.
Two questions.
I would have liked,
You thought
So
what?
what did you think of the covers?
I would have liked to
Patty?
see the real dog, like a real dog, because I have 2 German Shepherds. I've been a fan for years, but I would have liked to see the real dog. I don't know if the palm trees were important, but I wanted to, it would have been good to see, well, both dogs.
I didn't think
Yeah.
the cover did much for the book.
No,
I would not have picked it up
no.
in a bookstore.
I was
I
just going
thought
to
it was
say
going
the
to be
same thing.
cartoonish.
Mhm.
It had a cartoonish look that
Yeah.
Yeah.
didn't say a real serious book to me.
Yeah.
I
I
thought the
wrote
cover,
an article. I think it was Sisters in Crime put it in their newsletter a little while ago, where I said how important it is for the cover to be eye-catching. Because I
read
know
it.
when I'd walk through, I'd walk through a bookstore, I walk through the section that I want to read, and all I do is I glance at covers, and the one that catches my eye is the one I'm going to pick up.
Yeah.
And if the title is dorky, the title doesn't fit the book, I'm not going to read it. So the title's just as important. then I'll turn it over and I'll read that 10-line blurb on the back. But it's gotta be a really eye-catching thing. I'll show you one of mine. Hold on just a second here. Where is it? This is the demonic possession one that I had, and I told my publisher and the cover artist, since it's a demonic possession, I wanted this smoky, ethereal looking creature type person with bright yellow eyes. So he comes up, I sent it off to him. The guy's just amazing. He's done most of my covers, and he got me this. They look terrific.
Oh,
Get the
okay.
shine off of it. See the creature with the yellow eyes, flames
Whoa.
behind it. Now that gives the reader an idea of what this is about. And I think that's one of the better covers this guy did for me. I love that cover.
Can I
But it's
show you
gotta
my
be good.
cover?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Can I show you my cover?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, there we go.
Well, how's
Oh,
it?
oh, we lost
Yeah,
you.
you're because
Wait.
you've got your background.
Oh,
It's
Oh,
hard.
that's what it is.
Yeah. Come up a little. Nope, nope, nope.
You're-
To the
Looks
right.
like you're
Right
holding the
in front
mirror.
of your face.
There you go. We're getting it.
Bruno.
Yeah. It's not working, Patty.
Oh.
Because of the background, you've got the specialized background. It's
Hold it in
Okay.
front of your face directly. Nope, still
That
not.
doesn't
Nope, you
work.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Right
There you go.
Pardon my
A little bit to the left.
There you
Oh,
go. Oh,
There you go.
yeah, there
That's
you go.
better. But we got, yeah. I find that there you go. The real dog would be much more appealing, but like you can't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
Well, that's true.
Unfortunately, right?
Unfortunately, I do.
We do,
Me
but
too.
this book proves that you can't.
Yeah. So,
So,
the cover, I agree. I like the cover because I know Steve and I've read the book and all that, and it knowing the book, it fits. After I read it, it fits.
Yeah,
But you're right. I think it's not the most eye-catching cover.
right.
The title I think is important too, and Big Dogs was intriguing to me. When I looked at it the first time, I thought, well, this could be a tracking dog. This could be a standard police dog that captures people. Could be a bloodhound, whatever. So I thought the title was okay.
John, can you hear me?
Yes.
I tried to comment a couple of times and you talked right over me. So
Oh, I'm
Anyway.
sorry.
We didn't
Just
hear
wave
you.
at me.
Ken.
okay, my feeling on the cover is it's about a bee. I mean, it's okay, but it's not intriguing. It doesn't really catch you. I would like to see some action. I'd like to see a picture with the dog, running or chasing somebody and the police officers behind him, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it didn't
I'll read it.
suggest the kind of book to me.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed what it was from the cover. And the title
Yeah.
alone with that cover just didn't tell me much.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But see, to me, it didn't really matter that much because I know Steve and, I've talked to him and I've seen his cover and blah, blah, blah. So I got a little, inured to the cover. But you're right. I think if I was walking through a bookstore looking at covers, I would not have picked that book up. So now let's talk about the back cover blurb. That's important too. And so many times you get this rambling, 30-line back cover blurb, and no, I'm not even going to read it. If it's that big, like 6 to 10 lines, I'll read it. But other than that, no. And I think the back cover blurb, I got the Kindle copy, so I don't see
Yeah.
the back cover blurb. I think that's important too. That's the next thing. Did you happen to get a print copy and read the back cover? So Kindle?
I read the Kindle, the ebook.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I did
Yeah.
too.
So, what did you think of the first chapter? See, that's the one that I said I thought it was terrific. I mean, it starts off with a
that
whiz
was
bang.
great. I liked
Yeah.
the whole book. There were parts that I did not think were as well done. But overall, the story really did appeal to me.
Mhm.
And I like dogs. That
I
probably
need
has
to-
something to do with it.
I need to confess up front, I don't like dogs. I was attacked by a dog, two dogs, German Shepherds, when I was 3, and I've been scared of dogs ever since. It's the
Oh,
only thing I've ever been scared of in my life. So the book did not appeal to me. I got, I don't know, 40% in, read it for about 40% in, and it was a chore to have to pick it up and read it. So I put it down and started something else. Then when I realized that this meeting was coming up, I thought I better finish it. So I picked it up and I read another 10 or 15%. And once again, I just couldn't go. So I had to put it down. So this would be a big, one for me, but that's because of my particular prejudice against dogs.
aw.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I
that's
found in the
understandable.
book about the dogs not really much of a mystery.
Exactly. I wanted
Yeah.
to see some more mystery, more police action kind of stuff in it.
I have to say, John, you asked about the opening, and when I started to read it, I thought, oh no, this is violence against women and a serial uh a criminal. And
Mhm.
I have to say, they always tell you that most crimes are committed by people you know. And I
Mhm.
always feel very safe because I don't think there's anybody who hates me enough to want to kill me, right? So I feel
Yeah,
okay. I don't worry about that kind of thing. Like many people are freaking out. I don't. But serial killers, I'm there have been a lot of series on TVs where they're like Bones, for example, where over the seasons there's a serial killer that just keeps coming back. And I have to tell you, I can't watch those because they truly scare me because those people don't need a really good reason. It could be like the
yeah.
color of your hair or the fact that you're short or whatever that what they're doing. And so I found the opening very hard to read. And I thought, oh God, if I have to read about violence against women, I don't know how, well, I kind of like skim that stuff. But
Mhm.
then immediately we got into a human story and we got into the police and their personalities and then I was drawn right into the story. And there wasn't gratuitous violence. Whenever he captured one of these women, it was just like he didn't
Yeah,
spend numerous pages describing what was being done to them. I mean, we just knew what
yeah,
happened to them. And then we moved back into the story of how they were going to find this killer. I thought the ending was brilliant as a way to get you to want
yeah,
to read the next book.
Yeah.
That was brilliant, absolutely,
yeah.
in leading you to want to read the next story. Because I kept hoping, I suppose everybody did, that he was going to catch that killer at the end of the book, because you knew who the killer was from the start. But
Yeah.
uh, I had hoped that he was going to find it, but I thought, oh wow, this was really a smart way to end the book. So I love the book. I enjoyed reading about these animals. I think I mentioned it to you in an off-screen discussion, John, about having attended the Malden Citizens Police Academy and having a
Yeah.
demonstration done by the canine unit. And actually, one of the dogs that they have, maybe more than one, were a Malinois. And I know they said they cost something like $12,000.
Yeah.
Those dogs. So they're beautiful and they are just incredibly trained. So,
Yeah.
but this idea of tracking a dog is Ellis mentioned earlier, tracking a scent that's been there on the ground
Yeah.
for it's an individual person. 2 weeks later, I didn't know that was even possible. So
Yeah.
it was great to read about that.
Well, like I said, I know nothing about canines. I mean, I've never really had a lot of experience other than neighboring agencies bringing their dogs in. That surprised me also, and I thought, "Gee, can they really do that?" So I did some research, and yeah, they can. They're that sensitive and that well trained that they actually can a week or 10 days later, if it's raining and all that, they can still pick up a small scent enough to follow. So I thought it was interesting. The only part I really didn't care for all that much, it never got to the point where it was a real problem, but I thought the training stuff was just a tad long.
Yeah.
You know, it just kept going and going and going. It never got to the point where, you know, like Penn, I wasn't going to continue reading, but I was getting close to just turning pages and skipping it.
Well,
But he cut it off.
that's exactly where I got lost. I just didn't
Yeah.
have it. He didn't interest me in the training.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I thought it was just a little long. It could have been shortened up a little bit. I think it would have made the book better, but my favorite character in the whole book was his wife.
Uh,
I got one of those.
And
I thought she was, huh?
does your wife have a fortune on the side that she was able to pull
Oh,
out financial
God, I
retirement?
wish. But no. You know, that kind of surprised me, and I'm not sure I really like that. I mean, how
It
could she
seemed a
not tell
little-
him, or how
a
could he not
little
know that she's this multimillionaire?
serendipity, you know,
Yeah.
kind of dropped in out of the blue, and
Mhm.
it
But as
didn't
supportive as
change
she
much.
was, you know, and her attitude and her sense of humor, I really liked that character. And I think Steve did a good job on all the characters that he put in there. Some of them were not very flattering, and I mean, that's life. That's police departments. Then in my department, I'll tell you this real quick. The day I got hired, I was being taken around by this one of the sergeants and just showed them what's around the police department. And we walked into the briefing room, and there was about 5 or 6 officers there, and there's this one guy at the table, and he's berating another officer. I don't know what for, but I mean, it was shocking, you know, what he was telling this officer. They were equal rank. I mean, you know, there wasn't like he was a sergeant or anything. And I thought to myself, pardon my English, what an asshole. And you know what? I worked with that guy for 30 years, and he grew up to be a bigger a-hole every year. He was horrible. And he didn't like me. He tried to write me up for every little thing that he could. And we just didn't get along. I mean, I thought the guy was a real butt. And you have people like that in your department. You know, we had a couple like that, and we were a small department, but I thought Steve caught the characterizations of officers, some that were real close to him, his close friends, you know, and other ones that were, you know, kind of iffy. And I think he did really well at that.
And
And
every group has jerks.
I'm sorry.
Every group has a couple of jerks, at least
Absolutely.
one. Don't we
And he
know?
caught that. I thought, you know, in things like that were in the book, I thought really made it realistic for me having a police background, because I could relate to it.
One of the characters that I thought was most interesting was the one who had the canine unit that got shut down because
Oh,
he
yes.
wanted to help, but he was torn because he was jealous that this guy was going to get a chance to do what they just when he was getting the program up and running. So I thought that was, you know, like a very interesting and a very human angle.
Yeah, it was very believable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he,
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, he turned out to be, you know, his best ally, and you imagined him eventually taking it over. But yeah, you could understand his wanting to help and also being jealous of this guy's chance that he didn't have. Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. You know, we had an opportunity. There's a supervisory class that our statewide agency, it's called Post, puts on. Best class I ever went to. It's called the Supervisory Leadership Institute. And I applied for it, and the chief approved it and all that. And I was all set to go. And 3 days before I went, another sergeant went in and whined to the chief Well, I have more seniority than John does, so he pulled me out and put him in. So that's the type of thing that you have, in police departments, and it happens everywhere. It happens in every business, really.
Yeah.
And I thought he captured that very, very, very well. Like I said, I love the beginning. He really made this guy creepy as the book went on.
Mhm.
But you know what? At the point where he said he's 5'6" and 145 pounds, I went, ah. So I thought he was going to be this more intimidating, bad guy. And the lead up was to that. And here you got this little skinny 5'6" guy. I just brushed it off and said, okay, what the heck. But I think he missed the boat on not making him physically as intimidating as it was building up to. So
But
Maybe
see,
in the
I kind of thought that was what made this guy invisible. You
I
know,
did
Yeah.
too. I thought it
just
was,
the average Joe who was able to do this, and then nobody would suspect him of
and
being
women
that's
are more likely to not be afraid of it.
right.
Mhm. You're right. And he even said that in the book, where when he could go and mingle and nobody would give him a second glance and that sort of thing. So he even said that in the book.
Right.
But I just thought it should be like some big burly ugly guy, scarred up or whatever it may be. So I thought let's see, I made some notes about the book. One that I saw in there that is he made a note about how the police officers on Long Beach PD could carry any weapon that they wanted to, right? And then he said, and this is the first thing that popped into my head when I read that. Then he said, which created a problem with sharing ammunition. In other words, if you got a 45 caliber semi-auto, which Lieutenant North did, you can't use those bullets in the 38, or a 9mm. You can't use them. And citing a result, we had an armed robbery where, as we were responding, I was just an officer then. The car drove by us, so we took off after him. He pulled over right away, got out and started shooting at us. So we're taking cover, right, behind the car. He hops in his car, pulls into a parking lot, and he's going to get out and run again. So we get out. I mean, we've got everybody, me and two other guys are all shooting at him. Nobody got hit. But the guy next to me ran out of ammo. So I just handed him my speed loader because I had a 357, he had a 38, and the ammunition is interchangeable. And that's most departments require that. They'll require that you can exchange ammo just for that thing. And Steve mentioned that in there. And I thought that was a good touch. I thought that was really a good touch. He was very meticulous on his details. And he got them right, I think, for the most part. Small things like that make a big difference. I mean, it can really add to the story. Nothing's worse than running out of ammo, I'll tell you, when you need it. So we shot up a few cars, and a body shop. We had a couple bullets go in the body shop. They weren't happy about that, but yeah, sorry guys, we did catch him, and nobody got hurt. So that was a good thing. Let's see.
One of
I
the things that
No, go ahead, Sally.
one of the things that struck me, being a person who needs my sleep and can't be woken up in the middle of the night for any reason, the idea that you could have a bad day and you're tired and you get a phone call and these guys just have to come to the scene. That was such a you really have to admire and respect police for that alone. The fact that they're on call all the time. And that to me was something that also was very realistic. I mean, you never got a phone call like at 10 o'clock in the morning because crime takes place at night. And that was, I thought, yeah, I could never be a police person.
Some departments are large enough where they can staff a couple detectives at night. right? But they're still going to call out a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Our department was small enough where we only had 4 detectives. That's it. And we each handled, one crime against persons, property crimes, sex crimes, and miscellaneous. And when I made sergeant, I was transferred to investigation. So there were a few times or several times where I got that call at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm.
And the phone would ring and I'd look at the clock and I'd go, ah, now what's going on? And, off, I have to get up and get going. So you're right. It is an issue, but it goes with the job. And, I didn't like being woken up, but I loved the job. So, once I got going, had that cup of coffee and everything was good. So let me see,
Yeah,
what
they
else
were
did I?
always drinking coffee.
Yeah, that's just it. You drink way too much coffee on those shifts. Let's see. Let's see. And I like the part where the Lieutenant North, starts feeling bad because he made that mistake. He let his guard down, and he mentioned several times in the book that, it was my own fault because, I got distracted and I should have done better, procedures. And yeah, it was very small things. He heard a noise, and he didn't relate to the fact that maybe I should turn around and point my gun where the noise came from because they knew the guy was still in the area. And officers many times feel guilt over things that they did that caused them grief or caused somebody else grief, you know?
I think that's human nature. I think we all remember things we should have done or could have done differently and
Yeah.
maybe had a better outcome.
Patty, you looked like you were trying to say something. We're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I was just trying to take the background off.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know how it got there. I don't remember how to fix it.
Um, like you said, Sally, I didn't realize that a dog could be that sensitive to the smell, the time, a week or two later, but apparently they can, I had the fun opportunity of being assigned to run with, we had an elderly person that walked away from a care facility. So they got the bloodhound out, he got the scent, and off we went. So there was the handler, 2 handlers, it was the sheriff's office dog. It was 2 sheriff's office and me from Pleasant Hill PD, because that's where the person left from, and a couple other officers. And we ran 6 miles. I was in a lot better shape than I am now, a lot younger, but we ran 6 miles allegedly following this scent. Right back to where we started from, a half a block from where the person missing, we found their body.
Oh,
But I don't think they ran that 6 miles. The handler said, "Oh, it had to have been how they." I don't know. This person was elderly and not in the best physical shape. That's why she actually started to walk down the bike trail that they have and went into the canal. There's a creek and canal there and actually drowned. But I don't think she went 6 miles. The dog, I don't know what he was following, but eventually got us to where the poor person was, but I don't know.
I don't know.
So
I think if a person has dementia, they are capable of walking that distance and in bad weather and whatever. My father had dementia. He got out once. My father hated going out in the rain, right? He went out, he managed, that's when my mother had to change the locks on the doors and everything because he managed to slip out and the police fortunately found him, but he had walked miles in
Yeah.
the pouring rain, something he would never have done under normal conditions. So I
Yeah.
believe that person could have been out there wandering. How long do you know that? Did you know how long they were missing? Was it
They called the care facility called us within 45 minutes of missing him.
Oh,
And by the time everybody got out there was probably closer to an hour and a half before we actually started the search.
oh yeah, that's likely.
You got about an hour and a half. I'm sure this lady, I mean, she was like 89 years old, wasn't jogging.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
but
so you think
it
the
was
dog,
something
the
else.
dog took you on a wild goose chase?
I think so, but he got the job done. You
Yeah.
know, he actually took us back to the person, just a little roundabout way, I think. So, you know,
Interesting.
I thought it
was
was
there
an
any,
excellent story.
no, go ahead.
I thought it was an excellent story, Big Dogs. I loved reading about the dogs. And I know, I'm always amazed at the training that it takes and the dog's abilities and how that works together so that, I mean, I love reading stories like that. I think it goes back to my childhood of reading about, watching Lassie on TV, which wasn't obviously like this, but
Hmm.
it's just a love for dogs, I think, and especially dogs that work and do things that humans can't do. It's just extraordinary to me. The only thing about the story that kind of bothered me just a little bit for a moment, and that was all of a sudden his wife is this multi-millionaire, $29 million that she inherited, but there's no foreshadowing of it. All of a sudden, well, isn't that convenient?
And it
I thought
didn't
that
really
I could not
change
get away with
much.
that kind of thing in my books, but I understand, I just think that it should have been foreshadowed or something, because all of a sudden it was just too convenient for me. I thought, oh
Or
boy.
maybe not that much money, because it didn't make a huge difference to them, but it
No.
made them more comfortable in what they were able to do. I
Yeah,
just
funding
thought
the
it
dog and all that stuff, you know, but
didn't ring true.
yeah, I agree. I mentioned it before that how could she keep that from him?
Yeah.
I mean, how could she not
Yeah.
tell him that she has this money?
And who
Right.
does their taxes? Wouldn't he have, no?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Good point,
exactly.
Alice. Good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the
the
only
point is
flaw.
right. I didn't think about that.
That was the flaw.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
but I really, really, really liked the ending of the book. I read the book and I, I liked the book. I thought it was good. But it wasn't enough where I know Steve's written a sequel to it. Um, and I thought to myself, well, I might not be interested in the sequel, but the way he ended that book is going to make me buy the next one
Yeah.
because it's going to be a continuation of the search for this, the shadow type thing.
Mhm.
Could have picked a better name for him though. Who knows, what evil lurks in the
Yeah.
hearts of the shadow does, but I think he could have picked a little better name for him, something that was more intimidating. But overall, I like the book, and I will be getting the second book, I think, and reading that at some point.
I thought the scene when the dog, and it's the female dog that
Mhm.
does the search for in the hotel. And that was really interesting because you think like as a non-police person and you think about searching a hotel, like how do you even begin that? And yet, they were able to isolate the one tower only, and then they just took it floor by floor. And I thought, oh my God, what a laborious task. But
Very
yeah, when
tedious.
that dog found it, it just stopped. But then, that was a really suspenseful scene and kind of, uh,
I was worried about the dog.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I was really worried about the dog.
Yeah, and he had the point. He had the part in there where the dog was injured. Um, and I thought that's realistic too because criminals don't like dogs. We had a guy that the sheriff's office chased a guy into our city and he went out on a golf course and climbed a tree. How are you going to get away by climbing a tree, right? But he knew the dog was after him and he didn't want to get bit, so he climbed a tree. And he refused to come down until the dog was gone. He said, "You can shoot me and I'll fall out of the tree, but I'm not coming down till that dog is gone." And he did. He came down and gave up. But people are terrified of dogs, especially, the mystique about police dogs. And the ones that you see on TV and that are the attack dogs, right? There's a guy in a big suit and they're grabbing them and all that stuff. And they don't understand that there's different dogs for different things. And that's what this points out, that these aren't attack dogs, they're scent dogs. They're not meant to go bite the guy. They're meant to go find him and then bark and let everybody know that he's there. So I thought that was a good point in the book too.
Well,
Was there any?
the book has convinced me, as I've always believed, that dogs are way smarter than people. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know
Yes.
that people just take for granted pets, and like they can be trained to they're trained, and they're really sensitive to their owner. They
Mhm.
they know your every move, they anticipate what you're going to do. And one of my favorite stories about dogs was about a neighborhood where everybody in the neighborhood had an security system installed except one house, and that was a house that had a dog. Every
Mhm.
other house in the neighborhood had been robbed over a period of time, except the house that had
Mhm.
the dog with
Yeah.
no security system. So I always say my dog is my alert system. That's all you need is a dog.
My Yorkie,
Yeah.
My
nobody would
girlfriend
ever
has
come
great,
in and we wouldn't hear it.
Exactly.
He hears
Yeah.
the cat walking across the yard. He would
I have
let us know.
I bought a doormat, the front doormat, because I really liked it, and it has a drawing or picture of my two dogs. One is a pit bull mix and Labrador, sweetest dog you'd ever want to meet, and the other one's an Anatolian Shepherd, and she's about 100 pounds. So I have them on the front, and on the doormat. It's on the doormat, and the saying is, "No need to knock. We know you're here."
Oh, I love
Right.
that. I
And
love
isn't
that.
that the truth? I mean,
I want to
they'll
know.
suddenly, yeah, they'll suddenly get up and run from the family room to the front door and bark. And my wife and I, we never heard anything. So I'll go check, and and Amazon dropped something off, or whatever. So and I'll tell you, they are, I agree, they are the best deterrent. Why go in a house that has these dogs that may eat you? And both my dogs, when somebody knocks on the door, sound really, really ferocious. People don't know if you open the door, they're going to jump and lick and want to play,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm not going to tell them any different.
yeah.
But they do with these big
well,
booming
my
barks.
girlfriend is a Great Dane woman. And when I
Oh
met her,
boy.
she had two Great Danes. So I remember one time, I think I was at her house and she was coming back with her dogs, and it was like late at night. And I said, "Aren't you worried that, walking out there by yourself, this late at night?" And she pulled up on the reins and says, "I have two guns." Nobody would
Yep.
ever mess with her with a 175-pound dog walking next side.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's when I walk the dogs, the Anatolian, the big shepherd, beautiful dog. Uh, she is right by my side. If I stop, she stops. If I go, she goes. If I turn, I mean, she just stays right next to me. The other one is getting to that point, but I still have to have her on a leash. And when people see me walking and I don't have the dog on the leash, she's got the leash, but I'm not holding it. They move 10 feet off
Yeah.
to the side.
I would cross the street.
Yeah.
Yep.
They do. They move out of the way, or they stop and let me go by with the dogs. And I mean, they don't know that the dog's not going to hurt them at all, but just the look of the dog and the size is intimidating enough. And then that booming bark. Um, Another part, I know we're getting kind of short on time.
We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay. Another thing that I really liked in here is they showed the attachment between the dog and the handler.
I like that.
And I know when we had the dog unit, the guy that was a dog handler is a close friend of mine. So we were always over the house. He had small children then. I had small children then, and we'd take him over there. We didn't worry about a thing. The dog was trained, right? And the dog loved when he was not on duty, but when that collar went on, he was all business. So you didn't want to mess with him then. But when we were over the house, the kids are out running around and the dog's playing with them, and it was just really fun. And when that dog passed, it just broke his heart because they get so attached. Well, you people that have dogs, I have dogs, they become part of your family, and it's hard to lose that,
Yeah.
especially when you're with the dog 24 hours every day, not just as a pet. It's a working dog, and it really affects the handlers when they get hurt, which I think he did well when the dog was hurt. Even his wife says, "Tell me the dogs are okay." That's for her first dog, and
The,
I think he got that down really, really good. So,
one of the things that happened in the K9 unit here in Malden was that one of the police officers retired, but the dog was still, a member of the department. And it took quite a while for the dog to bond with a new officer.
yeah,
So yeah, that
yeah,
relationship is sacred, and you can imagine how close it is. I mean, if you have a pet dog, you know how close they are with you. But this is like a whole other level where they're responsible for each other and they really
Yeah.
take care of each other.
right. That dog is that officer's partner,
Right.
Yeah.
and you can't get any closer to a dog or a person when you work that close with somebody all the time. And
Right.
it's difficult. It's difficult. The dogs wear out, they get injured or they just get old, and 7 years maybe tops as a police canine.
Right.
And then every handler I've known who's had a dog, when the dog retires, they go to live with that officer, because I mean they live with them when they're not on duty, and that's their pet.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. He picked out a lot of stuff that I didn't expect to be in the book. Like that little bit of I told you about the ammo
Right.
sharing, the thing about the closeness of the dogs and the concern, and the different characters. I think he did a great job with his characters. I mean, he had a really vast, large variety of different types of personalities in there. And I think he really did a good job on that.
Yeah, and the
And
politics that you discussed earlier, like, just he had to be very smart about how he approached the senior officer or the captain. I'm not sure of the titles and I don't remember the names at this point, but he had to be very careful so that he wasn't stepping on somebody's toes or he wasn't trying to make somebody else look bad, because he had to second guess what that person was thinking and approach him in a way that would be non-threatening. And
right,
and then they have to make sure that you're not overstepping your
exactly.
because it's such there's ranks and
Yeah,
and the people who interact with the public. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. But that's
yeah.
just like working in any office. You have to know how to approach the guys in charge.
Penn, did you have something, Penn?
I'm sorry?
I said, did you have something? I thought I saw you wave.
No,
Did you
I
want to
just
say something?
I just adjusted my cap.
Okay. Yeah, there's fragile egos. The higher up the rank goes, the bigger the ego is. And unfortunately, they seem to think that they always know what's best for everybody, and you got to do it their way, my way or the highway. So you've got to play the politics game. And I think Steve outlined that pretty clearly, how fragile some of these egos are,
Yeah.
it's a fact of life. And like you said, it's in every business you have that. Every business, I think. It's kind of different with law enforcement. Because decisions that the upper crust can make can cost. I mean, there's a cost to it. I mean, it could put people in danger. Um, it's just not good for it, and you really gotta tiptoe around them, so to speak, to get what you want.
Well,
So,
it also was interesting that, like, just like any business, a return on investment was important.
mhm,
And they needed a big splashy say catch in order
yeah,
to justify, no matter how many small time crooks or little situations the dog would actually perform and succeed at, it wasn't like a major headline breaking
Yeah,
kind
they
of
need
behavior.
headlines.
Yeah,
yeah,
it needed to be
exactly.
something like that in order to justify it. But it was also interesting. The other thing that was kind of interesting was that once once you jump through all the hoops and
Yeah,
cross all the hurdles, then all of a sudden requests are coming for you from
yeah,
all over, from all the other agencies. And that was also
exactly.
that that it was the FBI that became interested in what he was
Right.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I thought Steve did a really good job starting off when they first were proposing this idea and carrying it all the way through where it finally got approved, then the training, and then he worked a couple cases. He had the big success near the end where the dog found the suspect. Um, and I thought he did a good job on building that. He built it slow enough where you weren't jumping and saying, well, what happened that caused him to be able to do this? And like I said, I think it was just a little bit long, the training part of it, but eventually it got in there, got in the right flow.
Yeah.
So
I thought that
overall,
it was really interesting about the German dog breeders and how they worked and how particular they are about breeding and where he got the dog and that
yeah,
they loved the dog so much that they were willing to let him go to this guy because they believed he would be good for him.
yeah. Yeah, at first
I
I
thought
thought, those
the,
dogs are so expensive. They're so expensive to train and to buy them and all that. I thought, well, how come he's going to be so generous with this dog? But then I thought about it and I thought, well, if this dog is a success, guess who North is going to tell?
Mhm.
Everybody he's going to tell, guess who trained the dog, where I got the dog.
Yeah.
So it was good for business. It was good for business too. So
I thought it was very interesting that the dog responded to German commands. They hadn't learned English yet.
We have a
Mhm.
local, we
Oh,
had a
people.
local police dog coming to our Sisters in Crime group, and he spoke Czech.
Yeah.
They didn't
Oh
want him
yeah.
to speak English because somebody else could give him a command.
Right.
But
Mhm.
this dog knew Czech,
Yeah.
and
But
he
you know
understood
what?
it.
The
I
dog's not
always,
going to respond to anybody giving that command. He's going to respond to his owner because
They didn't
he's
want,
in police mode. He won't. I could give the same command as the dog owner. The dog would ignore me,
but they
because it
didn't
didn't
want,
come
they don't
from
want
the
to take a
owner.
chance. He
Yeah,
said they didn't
you're
want
right.
other people
You're right.
saying the same words.
The dogs aren't infallible either.
Yeah.
Concord PD, our neighboring agency, had a Rottweiler that they eventually had to get rid of because the dog would get so excited when he was on a trail, and he was a biter. I mean, he'd go chase people down. Then he'd turn around and bite his owner.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's not
He
good.
he it was like he was so angry because the owner wouldn't release him to go get this guy. He'd bite he'd
Oh,
bite
dear.
the owner.
That
So
that leads me to recommend I think the author's name is Spencer Quinn, who
Oh,
wrote
yeah.
Dog on It, and his dog
uh
uh oh God, his name's Bernie and the dog's name is Chet, I think. Chet and Bernie,
Yes.
right? And the dog's a police academy dropout.
yeah. Yeah, they're not
Love it.
infallible. My great niece, she lives back in Wisconsin. she trains those police dogs back in Wisconsin. And so she's always sending me videos on them, and it's amazing what she can get them to do. But she also sends me the ones that she knows are not going to make it. You know, she's had them for, 3 or 4 months and they haven't made any progress. And she says, look at this dog. It ignores me, doesn't follow the commands. She says, this one will not make it. And that's a large investment gone down the tubes, So they're not fallible. I mean, infallible.
I think the dog in the Spencer Quinn books was flunked because he couldn't resist bacon or something like that. He would lose no bacon, he would forget what his job was.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
book's written from the dog's point of view, which is really they're just a delight to read. They're so good. Very
I'll
good.
bet.
Well, if you're dog people, you should read The Art of Racing in the Rain,
Oh,
because that
Oh,
is
yeah, I've heard of that. Yes.
What's
I have
what's
to-
the title?
The Art of Racing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't remember the author's name, which is horrible because he's a friend of mine and it just won't come into my head.
No. Oh boy. So
Well,
Made
we've
a
kind of
movie
reached
of it.
the end of our hour. John, you want to tell us a brief bit about the book we're reading for next month?
yes, the book, I've got it right here. It's called Without Due Caution. It's always backwards. It's
No, it comes out, we can read it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
right
good.
for us.
Yes, I see it as backwards.
Yeah.
And it's written by Toni Heverin, who's a good friend of mine. She's in the public safety. It was a first place award winner in the public safety writing competition, as was Steve's book a couple years ago.
What's the author's name again?
Toni, Thonie, Heveron, Hevron. It's right there.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Tony's a good friend. She's a great writer. But as a little spoiler, I think she missed the boat on this one.
Oops.
So yeah, oops is right. The book surprised me because she, I'll get into this next month, but real quickly, she signed a 3-book deal with this publishing company, and I think they're the ones that pressured her to do what the formatting and stuff that she did. So I'll let it go at that. We'll talk more about it next month. But
Okay.
she's a wonderful person, a great writer. This is her 4th or 5th book, and I've read all of them. And outside of this one, they were all great books. So,
Okay.
Well,
All
I
right.
enjoyed it. I'm going to write a review. I just haven't I'm thinking about what I need to say.
yeah,
Because I really did enjoy the book.
Me too.
good. So, I'm like, I don't know how you write. Let's see, are we going over here? Yeah, a little bit. But real quick, I write at night, usually 10 o'clock at night. I come in the office here, my messy office, and I sit and I write for a couple hours. So I never go to bed much before midnight, 1 a.m., depending on how much I get into that, because that's when I can concentrate more. The dogs are settled in for the night. My wife's gone to bed. Turn on a little background music and I write, and that's what I'm most.
Speaking
I
of
think.
dogs, look
Yeah,
behind you.
there's one of your dogs.
Sure,
Yep.
your dog's been behind
Oh, that's the Anatolian Shepherd.
you.
That's the big one. The little ones are walking around here too. That's Heidi. So anyway, that's my writing process. So I don't know about other people. Some people can't have any background noise on or whatever, but that helps soothe me, and it helps me concentrate. So
I'm a morning person all the way. So yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
for
my.
10 o'clock, I'm asleep.
I like early mornings when things are quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before
Well,
everybody
I've
gets-
really enjoyed this. I hope it was beneficial to you. I hope you liked it, and
I
we'll
did.
meet again in a month.
All right.
Okay.
Look forward to
Right,
seeing
thank
you
you so
all
much.
next one. Okay.
Adios to
All right.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Sally,
Bye.
Sally.